So, I think one of the biggest things that happened to me was when I decided that I was not going back to Manila, back home to the Philippines, where both my parents and my brothers were still living, and deciding to stay in the U.S. And I think by then I was starting to assimilate. So this was in the late 90s, and I think by then I was starting to assimilate into American life, American culture, and I think one of the big things that was very different was that in the U.S. you could live your own life, you have your own choices, you're not burdened by, to a certain extent, you are expected to go on your own path. Whereas in the Philippines, at least back then, now things have changed a bit, but back then it was very traditional. It was a very matriarchal society, and everyone was very close to the family, and the mother essentially ran the household, and in many households the mom would decide what their children would be. In this case, I had decided to be a doctor, and so that was not an issue, but I think the fact that I decided not to come home, not to go back home after my training, in a certain way felt like a slap in the face to both my parents. And there was a time when my mother especially and I were not on very good speaking terms, but I think overall over time she has accepted that, and I think our relationship has gotten stronger since then. And I think one thing that I like about being in the States is that I think you're exposed to a lot of cultures here. You're obviously exposed to American culture, but what really is American culture, it's very different with each household, with each area. I think when I married my wife, who's from Pennsylvania, I think the way their family interacts is very different from the way other families interact. But I think that has opened my eyes, and having friends from other countries also, you get to understand that everybody has their own thoughts, their own ways of doing things, and their own things that they hold dear. And I think you get to be accepting of different things with those experiences. One thing that's very different between American life and Philippine life is you get to see it really around Christmas time. We like to say that the Christmas holiday in the Philippines is really 2 weeks long. And it's certainly more than a day. And when I was growing up, we would go to church at 5 o'clock in the morning before going to school. This would go on for 2 weeks before Christmas, culminating in midnight mass on Christmas Eve. We would then all go home. My mom would have prepared a meal, and then we would have that meal and then go to our living room and open gifts. Interestingly, we also had a Christmas tree. That was a plastic Christmas tree, although there weren't very many pine trees in the Philippines. So I think Christmas time is a time over there where the family all comes together, and friends all come together. So when I go back home, and I now take my family with me, there's a party almost every night that we're there, and and then culminating again with the celebrations in my family's house. I think the closest thing here would be Thanksgiving, where it's the family comes around together. Although Thanksgiving is still shorter here than Christmas is in the Philippines. So I love still going back and seeing friends and families. But I think my work and my immediate family is here now, and I think like what I said earlier, we're forging our own path, and hopefully it's for the best for my kids.